Start us off.
Okay, I just started the recording and the screen is clear.
Okay, perfect. All right. Sorry. Okay, sorry, my roommate was being freaking obnoxious. Um, okay. All right, let's do this. Y'all ready?
Yep, ready.
Perfect. Okay. Good evening. This is our final presentation for Business 660. We are presenting on Matsko versus Tesla Incorporated. My name is Abby Herold.
My name is Ailin Amaro Martinez.
My name is Skylar Reed.
And I'm Gianna Cuscela.
This will be our agenda for this case analysis regarding Tesla. I will be going through the case background, the major issues, and the next steps for the company. First, we'll be starting with the case background.
All right, diving back into the case. In September 2022, a class action lawsuit was filed against Tesla regarding the company's self-driving automobile feature. The plaintiffs claimed that they were led to believe that the function was completely autonomous and needed no self-driver to regulate it. The capability, however, is not, which led to the class action lawsuit focusing on consumer protection, corporate responsibility, and misleading advertising practices. Now I'm going to pass it on over to Abby to dive deeper.
As far as the parties involved, Tesla is the plaintiff, along with Elon Musk, the company's CEO. And the prosecution, it began with Briggs Matsko, a Tesla owner, but this also incorporates individuals who purchase or lease Tesla vehicles with the extra enhancement equipped with autopilot since the year 2016. Passing it on to Skylar for the major issues being faced by Tesla.
So as mentioned with the case background, we are going to be talking about some major issues being faced by Tesla, both on the legal aspect and the ethical side. Under our legal issues, we will be talking about consumer protection and industry regulation compliance violations. And on the ethical issues side, we'll be talking about corporate responsibility and misleading advertising practice violations.
Going into consumer protection, one of the main two questions when delving into Tesla's violations of consumer protection laws include asking, did Tesla's advertising mislead consumers in violation of false advertising laws by allowing consumers to be led to believe that the vehicle enhancement was completely autonomous when it in fact was not? And secondly, were consumers financially harmed by purchasing a product that did not perform as advertised by purchasing the extra cost product feature that did not conduct in the way consumers believed it would? First, going into false advertising, according to the Federal Trade Commission, Section 5 prohibits unfair or deceptive acts or practices in commerce. Tesla's marketing and Elon Musk's statements misled consumers by implying that their vehicles were fully autonomous or even close to it, even though the technology still required driver supervision. Next, going into the Lanham Act, this prohibits businesses from making misleading statements that harm competitors or consumers. Tesla's claims about its autopilot capabilities could be seen as misleading if they gave Tesla an unfair advantage over competitors such as Waymo or GM's Cruise. And then going into Consumer Product Safety Act, this requires companies to report safety defects and avoid misleading claims about product safety. Tesla's use of terms like autopilot or self-driving may have misled consumers into believing their cars were fully self-driving, however, not being. Courts and regulators could argue that these marketing claims create unreasonable expectations, leading to possible accidents, while drivers fail to remain engaged.
Next, we'll be talking about corporate social responsibility. First, we'll be talking about transparency and accountability, where we discuss the FTC Act, Section 5 has a mandate regarding truthful advertising, which is completely counteracted with the actions that Tesla is putting out into the market. Along with that, Tesla's mission statement is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, yet Tesla's branding for the autopilot and full self-driving vehicle may violate federal consumer protection laws by overstating the automation capabilities of these vehicles. With that, the FTC could investigate Tesla for unfair trade practices within the market. Additionally, under duty-based ethics related to canteen ethics learned from class content as well as textbook, Tesla has a duty to ensure that consumers have knowledge of how to use their product, and that there should be clear-cut guidelines and instructions for consumers to follow when purchasing a vehicle from Tesla. Additionally, learned from course content and from the textbook, we talk about utilitarian ethics as well, where we argue that Tesla must consider the greatest good for society, where they should be maximizing the benefits of their products while minimizing the harm to consumers or the environment. With that, Tesla's marketing has led drivers to become over reliant on the product, and causing accidents within society could outweigh the overall benefits that the products are providing to consumers. Next, we will be going into misleading advertising practices with Gianna.
All right, so since Tesla has been accused of violating multiple laws relating to the false advertising and investor deception within their vehicles, let's break down the key laws that Tesla could break if they continue to mislead their consumers. Starting with the California Business and Professions Code, this law prohibits false or misleading advertising of products, and Tesla could potentially continue to break this rule if Tesla's advertisements claim more autonomous driving than actual capabilities. Next, the FTC's Act Section 5. This law bans unfair and deceptive practices in advertising. Tesla did break this law, and they will continue to if they communicate to their consumers false accusations of their products. This act also ensures that companies' marketing is backed by evidence and is fully truthful. The SEC Act of 1934, Rule 10b-5, causes for illegal for companies to mislead investors about business models and impacts. Tesla exaggerated their self-driving capabilities, and if this was done in their investor reports, Tesla could face SEC action lawsuits. The SEC does heavily fine companies for misleading their investors. And Tesla violated the SEC Act when Elon Musk reportedly claimed that their full self-driving was almost ready for launch, when in fact their vehicles were not. These laws not only lead to lawsuits for Tesla, but can cause severe damages for their consumers as well. Going into the actual 2022 case, the consumers definitely have a negligence claim by having the necessary requirements for negligence, such as duty of care, breach of duty, causation, and damages. The duty of care that Tesla broke was Tesla's responsibility was to ensure truthful advertising and safety for their consumers. The breach of duty, Tesla's misrepresentation of its autopilot claims leads to unreasonable risks and potential damages for their consumers. The over-reliance of autopilot by consumers leads to accidents and injuries. Tesla would need to ensure that they communicate to their clients and consumers that their need for attentive driving is still needed. And the damages, victims can suffer financial loss, injury, or worse due to Tesla's negligence in this case. Tying it back to the Jennings book that we were reading during class, Jennings' book identifies business ethics as the principles and standards that determine acceptable conduct in organizations, and Tesla's practices can be deemed unacceptable within the business ethics realm and be deemed as not aligning with their societal expectations of honesty. They were miscommunicating to their stakeholders, community, and drivers. For business torts, Tesla's negligence in advertising honesty can be associated with a business tort case by their misrepresentation, not only to their consumers, but to their investors and stakeholders. Their social responsibility ties into the Jennings book by misrepresenting their autopilot capabilities to gain consumer purchasing contracts. Consumers would have grounds to claim that they were misled into the purchase. And next, we can go into the industry regulation compliance.
So the industry regulation compliance is going to kind of be a combination of the ethics and the torts. So specific violations, the first is going to come from the violation of Federal Trade Commission, FTC, or the regulations on false advertising. Tesla conducted deceptive marketing claims, and the FTC prohibits businesses from engaging in misleading advertising practices under the FTC Act 15, subsection 45. Tesla, under Musk's leadership, allegedly marketed autopilot and full self-driving, or FSD, in a way that misled consumers into believing the vehicle had fully autonomous capabilities, which they in fact do not. This also violated the regulatory impact, and this is a violation of FTC regulations, as companies are not allowed to make false or unsubstantiated claims about their products. The second is going to be the violation of National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or the NHTSA safety regulations. The NHTSA is responsible for ensuring vehicle safety and has strict safety compliance standards for advanced driver assistance systems. Tesla's autopilot and FSD technologies has been linked to multiple accidents and fatalities, leading the NHTSA to investigate whether Tesla's marketing and product deployment violated federal safety standards and the failure to ensure proper safety warnings. If Tesla knowingly misled customers into believing that their vehicles could drive autonomously without human intervention, this could be a regulatory compliance failure under their ruling. This is also a potential violation of 49 U.S. code, which prohibits manufacturers from selling vehicles that do not comply with safety regulations. Third is going to be the California Consumer Protection Law violation. California false advertising law is Tesla's advertisements and Musk's statements suggesting that FSD was close to achieving full autonomy may have misled California consumers. Consumer Legal Remedies Act was also violated because Tesla knowingly misrepresented the capabilities of its products and could be liable for fraudulent business practice under the California Civil Code, subsection 1770. Finally, Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, were violated. If Musk's statements about Tesla's self-driving capabilities were intended to boost stock prices while knowingly misleading investors and consumers, this would be a violation of the security laws, including SEC Rule 10b-5. Overall, Tesla and Elon Musk's alleged deception to marketing practices regarding autopilot and self-driving features may have violated FTC laws on false advertising, NHTSA safety compliance regulations, California consumer protection laws, and SEC regulations on misleading investor statements. This leads to a broader risk of misleading markets in highly regulated industries such as autonomous driving.
All right, so the next steps for Tesla would be to settle lawsuits when needed to avoid prolonged litigation and accept the accountability of them misrepresenting their vehicles, as well as complying with the NHTSA and state regulations to revise their marketing statements and ensure that their statements do align with state regulations to ensure that they are not misleading their consumers. As well as for legal next steps, contracts and consumer agreements would benefit both Tesla and consumer quality. Tesla can update their agreements to limit future liability, stating consumers ultimately have to remain attentive while operating their vehicles. This ties into the Jennings book as well. Jennings illustrates a few next steps that Tesla can take, such as upholding ethical advertising practices. The book emphasizes the importance of ethical advertising, and Tesla needs to ensure that all marketing materials accurately represent autopilot capabilities, as well as strengthening internal compliance and oversight by implementing internal controls to oversee the marketing and ensure that proper communication is being presented to consumers. And next, we can go to the ethical compliance for next steps for Tesla.
Under the next steps for ethical compliance, Tesla should focus on these four major components, beginning with corporate social responsibility. Within corporate social responsibility, Tesla should comply with corporate social responsibility by attempting to be economically profitable, legally compliant, and ethically responsible. With that, Tesla should clarify the capabilities and limitations that the full self-driving options have for the company, and potentially rename the system that reflects the actual capabilities, as well as updating the marketing language to explicitly state to the consumers what the vehicles are able to do and what is still needed to be required by driver supervision. Additionally, under corporate social responsibility, they should not have exaggerated claims that create unrealistic expectations for the consumers, and that there should be clear disclaimers on all promotional materials that emphasize the driver responsibility within their purchase of that product. Additionally, underneath the compliance with Federal Trade Commission, they could put those two different revisions underneath the the naming and the disclaimer transparency under the business, but as well as strengthening their internal compliance to make sure that the internal marketing vision of the business is operating in a clear-cut, ethical way. Additionally, with the duty of care, there should be the duty to release quarterly or annual safety reports that are providing data on the autopilot and full self-driving performance vehicles, and whether or not there is a vehicle error versus an operator error. Lastly, for some solutions for Tesla to go forward ethically, Tesla could be sure to rebrand their marketing, enhance their compliance, and strengthen their disclaimers overall. And that concludes our presentation. And then our very last slide is our Works Cited page.